Welcome back to our channel, where the Earth is flat, space is hot, and Mercury is the hottest, strangest thing in the entire solar system, and maybe beyond. First, some disclosure. We know Mercury the planet is actually pretty normal. Sure, it's scorching hot, super dense, and has a big old core, but size-wise, it's literally the smallest of the rocky planet. So why are we dedicating an entire episode to it? Well, because Mercury is way more than just a little rock. It's also the coolest liquid metal, a mythological god of mischief, and the key to understanding astrology and okay, maybe not that last one, but hey, Mercury rules the internet anyway, so we're gonna roll with it. So grab your spacesuits, heat shields, and astrological charts, because we're about to take off for an intergalactic adventure with the one and only Mercury. And now let's get started. When you think of sweltering heat, you probably imagine something like the surface of Venus, right? Wrong. Venus might be our neighbor, but it's Mercury, who's the sun's favorite child. Literally, as the first planet in our solar system, it sits closest to the nuclear furnace powering our entire planetary family. And let's just say it's got a complex relationship with its celestial parent. You see, while Mercury enjoys being the sun's firstborn son, it doesn't want to be smothered by its attention, because Mercury also loves its freedom and independence, swinging around the solar system without any pesky moons to weigh it down. And no, astronomers haven't found any natural satellites orbiting Mercury. So, if you've seen those videos about the moon rotating Mercury, just remember those are computer models and conspiracy theories, not science. So yeah, Mercury is basically a lone wolf, a rebel without a cause, a sun-worshipping free spirit with a messed up childhood and a serious anger management issue. Wait, never mind. It's not a planet at all. It's a god! Oops. Actually, Mercury is both a planet and a deity in Roman mythology, the messenger of the gods and the trickster of the zodiac. But don't worry, we won't get too deep into astrology unless you want us to. But I couldn't resist. You know, Mercury rules the mind, communication, and technology. So of course we had to talk about how it affects your love life and compatibility and stuff. Just kidding. Kind of, anyway. Mercury is also the fastest planet in the solar system, zipping around the sun in just 88 Earth days and covering distances so vast it makes my mind melt. And then it's gone. Ha ha! You can't catch me! I'm too quick for you! Too slick! Mercury is fast. Well, what does that mean for us mortals? Well, according to the ancients, Mercury was the god of travelers, messengers, merchants, and thieves. So it's no surprise that Mercury rules the internet either. After all, it's the god of communication, info flow, and instant gratification. Yeep, you heard right. Mercury is the patron deity of spam emails, viral videos, and online shopping sprees. So if you're feeling restless tonight, don't blame yourself, blame Mercury retrograde. Okay, enough about Mercury as a god and a concept. Let's talk about Mercury as a planet and an object. How did it form? What's it made of? And can we visit it without burning alive? Well, let's start with its origin story. According to the prevailing theory, Mercury formed early in the solar system's history, about 4.5 billion years ago, when a giant cloud of gas and dust collapsed under its own gravity and turned into our sun Mercury, along with the other 7 planets, asteroids, comets, and meteoroids, were born from the leftover material that didn't quite make it into the sun. So Mercury is kind of like the sun's discarded childhood toys, except heavier and denser. In fact, Mercury is the densest planet in the solar system with a whopping 54 grams per cubic centimeter. That's 5 times denser than Earth. Why is it so dense? Well, scientists think it has something to do with its composition. Mercury is mostly made of iron and nickel, which give it a metallic core that takes up half of its volume and mass. But don't worry, that doesn't mean Mercury is magnetic or radioactive. It's not like you'll get cancer from visiting it. Probably. Now, let's talk about Mercury's orbit, because it's weird. It's the smallest planet, but it's also it's the first planet, but it's not the closest to the sun. Wait, what? Well, Mercury is one of 8 planets in the solar system that orbit the sun on slightly tilted axes. But its orbit is also highly eccentric, meaning it's oval-shaped rather than circular. That means sometimes it gets closer to the sun than Earth does, even though it's small. So Mercury experiences extreme temperature swings from scorching hot to freezing cold. During the day, Mercury can reach temperatures of up to 430 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead or roast a chicken. At night, though, temperatures plummet to minus 180 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze water or a human body. So if you ever plan to visit Mercury, bring a heavy coat and a cooling system. And don't forget to watch out for meteor showers. Yes, despite having no moons, Mercury still gets bombarded by meteorites from time to time. It's not as bad as Earth, but it's enough to leave scars on its surface that scientists can use to map its history. Speaking of maps, let's take a closer look at Mercury's surface. Thanks to NASA's Messenger spacecraft, we have detailed images of almost every inch of Mercury. And what we found is surprising. Mercury is not a smooth sphere. It's got craters, cliffs, plains, ridges, hollows, and more. Scientists have given them fancy names like Caloris Basin, Shakespeare, Cliff, Strangeways, Formation, and so on. But we don't know much about them yet. There is so much to explore and discover on Mercury that it is like a new frontier for space exploration. Which brings us to the final question. Can we visit Mercury? Well, Messenger already did it. It orbited Mercury for a year, from 2011 to 2015, and took thousands of pictures and measurements. Before that, Mariner 10 flew by Mercury 3 times in the 1970s and returned the first close-up photos of the planet. But those were just Messenger was the first and only spacecraft to orbit Mercury. It was launched in 2004 and arrived at Mercury in 2011 after a 7-year journey. It had to use a technique called gravity assist to speed up and change direction using the gravitational pull of other planets, like Venus and the Sun itself. Gravity assist is like getting a boost from your friends when you're tired and need help. Only instead of human friends, you use celestial Anyway, Messenger's mission was to map Mercury's surface and study its geology, magnetic field. It found a lot of cool stuff, like ice and permanently shadowed craters, organic compounds on the surface, and evidence of volcanic activity in the past. It also confirmed that Mercury has a molten core, a thin atmosphere, and a magnetic field that protects it from the solar wind. But before we wrap up this Mercury extravaganza, we have a bonus segment for you. Mercury has a vibe. Yep, you heard right. Mercury is not just a planet or a metal or a god. It's also an energy, a frequency, a cosmic vibe that influences our thoughts, feelings, and actions. If you're paying attention to astrology or memes, you've probably heard people talking about Mercury being in retrograde or Mercury's season. What does that mean? Well, it means that Mercury is making a loop-de-loop around the sun and aligning with certain signs in the zodiac, which affects our communication, technology, and travel. When Mercury is in retrograde, things can get messy, like misunderstandings, delays, cancellations, and crashes. But when Mercury is in direct motion, things can flow more smoothly, like conversations, connections, and journeys. That's because Mercury is the god of communication, information, and transportation. It's the planet that connects us to each other and to the world around us. It's also the planet that rules our minds and our intellect. It's the spark that ignites our curiosity, our creativity, and it's the planet that makes us think fast, talk fast, and move fast. It's the planet that keeps us sharp, savvy, and sassy. Oh, and don't forget about Mercury's influence on music and art. Mercury is the patron planet of musicians, comedians, writers, and performers. It's the planet that inspires us to sing, dance, joke, and express ourselves. It's the planet that gives us the rhythm, the rhyme, and the beat. It's the planet that pumps up the volume, cranks up the energy, and turns up the heat. So there you have it, a quick tour of Mercury, the planet, the metal, the god, and the vibe. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Flat Earth Theory, where we prove that Mercury is not only hot and strange, but also the hottest, strangest thing in the solar system and maybe beyond. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. You can also follow us on social media for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, stay curious and keep hustling. Remember, Mercury is watching.